Hi, everyone. We're here in the Lean in Pakistan studios here at the Barak Center, and we are interviewing today as story number 8, the incredible Mariam Reza Zaidi, who's a part of the Lean in Lahore LFVIP Circle. Mariam, hi, how are you?
Hi, Thara. So good to see you and happy Ramzan. I hope you're well.
Same here, and you are such a pride and joy for all of us,
Thank you. So kind of you. And
and
thank you for
Ramadan
having
for
me.
you as well. Of course. In fact, we're deeply honored to have you and love having you as a part of Lean in Pakistan and Lean in Lahore.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I mean, to be a part of Lean in Lahore with a bunch of such extraordinary and women around me, who are so inspirational. It's just amazing.
Fantastic. So, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about you? Your story is so extraordinary and your list of achievements were so mile high. I think I'll get tongue tied listing them all. So, why don't you take the floor?
Thank you. I'm humbled. Well, I'm from Islamabad basically, but now I'm in Lahore because I got married around 13 years ago. So I live here with, my husband and my two children. I have been a humanitarian for almost 12, 13 years. I mean, my entire professional career. And I've been working with the United Nations at UNICEF for child health and immunization. Um, I've also been the first opposition leader of the Youth Parliament in 2007 in Pakistan, and I got a chance to work directly with the then Prime Minister, Yusuf Raza Gillani, as an advisor on youth and image building. Um, as my story went on, I got married, I had children, and of course, field work. As you know, UN requires a lot of field work. I continued, but I wanted to take that break, and I gave shot at the corporate sector, and I was with Tetra Pak for about two years, and worked over there, and saw a completely different side from the development sector. But then, because I was a humanitarian at heart and I'd always wanted to work with the community and for the community, so I came back to UNICEF, started working with Middle East, Africa, and now currently I'm with UNICEF Europe.
Fantastic. So, now that was a lot that you packed into your career and also about your personal life. So, maybe we can go back a little and unpack it. So, what was Mariam like as a little girl growing up in Islamabad?
Oh my God. I was a lean-in woman. I was a complete firecracker. If you ask my father, he said, well, you were born on the other side of of the hospital bed. Um, I was very naughty. I was really into reading. I was into gaining extra knowledge. I was a sporty person, so I living in Islamabad, it was really easy to bike ride and rollerblade on the roads. So did that. I had an elder brother who was again a very high achiever, so I was always like in this fix with him to kind of beat him at stuff when it came to academics or extracurricular. So yeah, I had like a really wholesome childhood with both my parents. My mom's an oncologist, my father is a nuclear engineer. So, they were very educated people who really put in their heart and soul into the upbringing of my brother and me. So, yeah, we were a very close knit, happy family, kind of like that.
Wonderful. And when you talked about the lean in firecracker sort of um, background, obviously you're very familiar with Sheryl Sandberg's book Lean In, and you're very
Hmm.
familiar with the whole concept of girls being raised to be called bossy rather than the boss, and the idea of that. And it seems that your parents encouraged you always to think of yourself more as the boss.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you ask my elder brother, he would always say, our was a more matriarchal house than a patriarchal house, with my mother and myself. Um, I think it's got a lot to do with my father, and kudos to him. And he, in essence, if you meet him, he's a very religious person, right? At the face of it, but I think he really embodied the religious aspect of Islam and how to give empowerment to his daughter and to his wife, and how to just let them be and whatever they want to be. And I remember if somebody would tell me, oh, Mariam, you're talking too loudly, or oh, Mariam, don't talk out of place, or don't sit like that. I always remember, my brother and my father would always kind of step in and be like, it's okay, just be yourself, it's okay, we've got your back. And I think that is what lean in kind of projects as well, to embrace your personality, to embrace who you are as a person. And it's not necessary that if you come from a South Asian household, from a Muslim household, from a middle class household. I mean, I don't come from a very privileged house, so I can't even say that, oh, I was a very privileged girl, hence, I could do everything. I came from a working class house where both parents were working. And um, I think that's something that really attracted me towards lean in as well, to embrace who you are and don't fix yourself into boxes and tags, and don't let people define who you are, because Allah hasn't made you definable, as a woman. It's very enriching to be a woman in itself, and you should not allow anybody to put you in a box and then put a label on it. Oh, she's bossy. Oh, she's too straightforward. Oh, she's ambitious. I mean, why the negative connotations?
I couldn't agree more. And that's why you're such an asset and such a true lean in woman. When we talk a bit about the men in your life, your father, your brother, encouraging you to be, and I always talk to my friends about the importance for me is always to be with people and surround myself with people who let me be me, you know? And you also have been married 13 years and you have two wonderful children. Obviously, you are with a man who is similar in that way and also lets you be and has your back. Can you talk about that journey?
Oh, absolutely. I think I completely lucked out on, when I got married to Hassan, who's my husband. And, even though it was an arranged marriage, it wasn't one of those, oh, I chose somebody. And I think he understood the philosophy of how I was raised, and how I see things. And I should, maybe take an opportunity on this lean in platform and maybe thank him, and also comment on the fact that he kind of went against a lot of normal Pakistani antics when it comes to being a wife, when it comes to being a bahu. And I think he did get to hear a few few things from here and there about how I was. Uh, but again, I think he took it really gracefully. He's always encouraged me to be the person I am, to work, to understand that it is very important to give importance to yourself. And that's how I'm also raising my own son. My son is now 11 and a half, and I keep reminding him that, if your dad's working and if your mom's working, it's the same thing. If you cannot barge in the room where, Abu is working, then you cannot also barge in the room where Ammi is working. So I think, and to explain to the younger generation that moms put in so much more effort, because they don't only work, but they also are taking care of you, they're taking care of your education, they're giving you time, and they're sitting down and doing your homeworks with you, they're getting you prepared for examinations, they're also taking care of their in-laws, they're also taking care of nighttime dinners and parties and social gatherings that they have to be in. I understand God made us humans, and I totally believe God has made us superhumans. But we need the appreciation. And I think if my husband can be that role model for my son, I think I'll be raising a really good child.
And your son is fabulous. And I feel it's really important that what you did right now, which is take that moment to thank your husband, because so often we spend our interviews and our moments discussing and celebrating our successes. and it's a really really important thing to thank those that are with us in this journey and enablers of this journey.
Truly. I mean, I think another really important aspect that I learned from being a part of the Lean In community and also, through the book is how it takes us time to appreciate what is good around us. And that includes people as well. And like you said, enablers. And at times we just get caught up so much in our own achievements that we don't realize that we would not have been if there we would not have had the support system. So for sure.
Absolutely. And Mariam, you talked about your journey to the United Nations. And obviously, that sounds really glamorous. And we can't underplay that you are a Pakistani woman from Islamabad and enable to be able to break into that global platform is very exciting. You know, it's not that you're sitting in New York at the headquarters and you walk in and you're like, hi guys,
Oh
it's
yeah.
time to hire me. In Islamabad at the Serena Business Complex, the different UN agencies have so many security levels, even for an invited guest to get in, that for you to get a position there and then grow there. Can you talk about where and when you came up with the idea and then how you began that journey?
Oh, okay. Well, that will be really long time ago because I graduated with an international relations and democracy degree, and I started working for the American Refugee Committee because refugee law was my major. I had this great, amazing mentor slash boss when I started off, Ms. Zafar, and I remember she told me, as long as you're working hard, you will be noticed in the development sector. And I said, okay, and that's how I was conducting one of, because I've been a trainer for a really long time, and I was conducting this session when somebody from the UNICEF office in Pakistan, Islamabad, saw me, and then I applied for a position over there, and I got in. But the journey, Tara, has been very tough, and I like the way you initially described that we're not one of those, and trust me, after 12 years I'm still not one of those that can just barge into the New York UN headquarters and say, hi, I've arrived. You have to face biases, and it will come as a shock to you. Working in UNICEF Pakistan was far more easier and liberal and liberating and less sexist and racist than it is working with the international system. You have to face these barriers, and regardless of how well educated you are, regardless of what background you come from, it is very tough for women, and not just Pakistani women, any women in general, to break the patriarchal barriers, even in an organization like the UN. And but again, I I remember hard work pays off. I've always been a field worker. I've never shied away from work. I've never shied away from speaking the truth. I've been very honest to my work, and very dedicated, if I must say. Um, that I had to sacrifice so many times, so many things, so many happy moments, the freedom of doing things. And I think it has paid off. And now that I am a part of the International UNICEF Geneva office, which is the headquarters, um, I see that not just women of the color that we come from or the hijab that I wear, it does not matter. Women could be wearing anything, could speak any language, they will face hurdles, they will face discrimination, they will be body shamed, they will be religion shamed, they will be um, mother shamed. I mean, that was something which was always alarming to me, whether I worked in the development sector or the corporate sector. The most alarming thing that I had to face was that I had to justify being a mother. I mean, and I kept thinking, how could I justify? Why do I need to justify the most beautiful thing of womanhood, of being a mother? And that's what women have to face, even in 2023.
So, can you, if I heard you correctly, did you say you had to justify being a mother?
Oh yeah, I mean, justified to the extent that there were times I was not given positions just because I was a mom. Because, oh, will you be able to travel? Oh, but what if your child falls ill? Oh, will you be able to sit till like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. every day? Oh, but what about parent teacher meeting? Do you really need to go to the parent teacher meeting? And there were times when, and there are times right now, even when in organizations in Pakistan, especially, when they interview you, the HR, there's an entire box that they have to tick:
Mhm.
married, children, and that comes with a -1, -1. And that is something that really needs to be looked upon when it comes to HR policies, because I have seen that happening. I have seen that happening personally also, where I was qualified for a particular position. I had everything, all the ticks, but oh, but are you sure? I mean, you're married, you have children. Are you sure? And yeah, so it has
Well,
happened.
that happens throughout Pakistan, but it
Yeah.
also still happens in parts of the world
Oh,
as
all
people are
over.
looking,
All over. Yeah.
And it works in many ways because sometimes guys are hired or promoted more if they're married and in stable families. They also look at, it's really interesting because they know that the guy will work harder if he has mouths to feed as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a
And he's not
lot
going
of
to run away.
behind,
He's not going to jump
yes,
from
yes,
job
yes,
to job. Yeah.
because there's this whole behind the scenes, there's the official HR policies, and then there's the behind the scenes, sort of the way it's decided, you know.
Oh, yeah. You can see it on the interviewer's face, like the downhill as soon as they find out, oh, married. Oh, children. Oh, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. But as you have evolved in your career at the UN, you've also worked in the pure corporate sector, Miss Tetra Pak.
It was amazing. I mean, I must say, I had the opportunity to work in a really good organization such as Tetra Pak, and also because it's a European Scandinavian organization. It's very sought out when it comes to its employee satisfaction.
Can you talk about that? Because people always talk about the Scandinavian countries also being the best countries in the world to live in.
Oh yeah.
If you could talk a little bit about how working with a Scandinavian country, a company, excuse me, what's that journey was like, and how you got involved, and what it was like for you as as a Pakistani woman working there.
Okay, so Tetra Pak headquarter, because I was in Lahore and I had had my second child, and this is way back. I think this is a good 7, 8 years ago, and my daughter was still very young at that point, and traveling for me was very difficult, was becoming tough, and so in Lahore, there are very few companies that have their headquarters, because most of the headquarters are based out of Karachi, and then the telecom headquarters are based out of Islamabad. So, a very few companies like Coke and Tetra Pak have their headquarters based out of Lahore. And Tetra Pak was looking for a communication specialist for their Middle East, but they said but it could be home based. So that's how I applied. I just very randomly applied with no prior experience. And I said, well, I don't know what to do. So I just applied. It was a LinkedIn application, and I applied, and they called me in for an interview. It was great.
Oh,
I
it
had to,
was completely LinkedIn. It wasn't,
oh, yeah.
so
No, no, no. It was,
that's as merit based out of, like, just a complete cold interview sort of application as you can get.
oh, yes, 100%. Because, and I wasn't even expecting, because I had zero corporate experience, right? The only experience that was validating was that I had specific internal external comms experience, and that was the department that they wanted to make.
Mhm.
Usually, the internal external comms are in the development sector. You don't see that in you see marketing departments and sales department in the corporate sector. You don't see comms in the corporate sector. So that was something new that they were making. And yeah, it was a LinkedIn application, and I got called, and then I had a first round of interview in Lahore, and then they flew me to Dubai to have my final interview because again, the regional headquarter is over there, and that's how I got the position. And it was, I mean, in all honesty, it was a great working environment. And I swear, only if the Scandinavian languages were not that difficult to learn, I would have moved at any time. But
And
Sweden.
give specifics, like name three things that were so wonderful.
Okay, number one, their time management and time culture. I mean, you see very horrendous time cultures in the corporate sector in Pakistan. You see people coming home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, really big multinational corporates. I don't know. I don't know why they hire people. I don't know what they don't think that they don't have families back at home. But because my husband works and has worked, well, luckily my husband has also worked for a company like Nestle, which is again a Scandinavian country, which is amazing. But
Isn't Nestle Swiss?
it is Swiss, but yes, it is Swiss. But right there, it comes into the
Yeah,
same,
similar culture,
very similar customers. Swiss have
a
very
time management for sure. you know,
so Sweden, so Tetra Pak being Sweden, and then Swiss, they're all very similar to, let's say, Norway and Denmark and all of these Finland countries. So they have very similar dynamics and very similar work cultures. So Tetra Pak, the time management was amazing. If it's 5 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock, and it's not just for women, even the men. You could see laptops going tuck, 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 and you could see bags being put up and people leaving the
and that
office.
also means people show up on time, which is really important in these
Oh
different sort
yeah.
of
Again,
multi.
8:30, everybody was in the office at 8:30. So the entire office environment when it came to timings was really good. The second thing that I really liked about Tetra Pak was the ratio of women to men in the office, right? So um, it was funny because I was with the engineering department, so obviously there were more men. But if it used to be funny because you used to say as soon as we climb the stairs to level one, it is 100% women. So again, something that I had not seen even in the UN sector in Pakistan. That so many women are encouraged to come and work, and the environment was so great. The environment was so congenial, and people were so easygoing, and there was this level of respect that women got at an organization that is such a huge organization. It's multinational, it's all over the world. It's Tetra Pak. So that was another thing that I really liked was the work environment when it came to women, and also the women to men ratio was almost the same. It was like 50-50. um, Another thing that is, something that I would really like to point out was how there was a culture of supportive supervision and not boss, right? So your supervisors were supportive supervisors. They weren't your boss. They wouldn't just come and tell you, "Oh, do this, tuck. Oh, do this." No. So they would sit down, they would discuss, they would try to understand where you're coming from. They would tell where they're coming from. They would discuss, oh, this is the outcome we want. How do you think we could achieve this outcome? So, giving that respect to a junior person in the organization means a lot. And it really develops a lot of confidence in the junior staff that, oh, so my boss is coming and asking me for inputs. So, excellent. These three things were amazing while I worked at the corporate sector with Tetra Pak.
And it sounds like whether it's the United Nations, UNICEF, or Tetra Pak, you really appreciated your voice being heard.
Yes. Yes. I mean, the appreciation is also there, but then, you know, Tara, I must say I did not really hold back also. You know,
Why am I not surprised, Mariam?
I think there are times when we just keep on, and that's again something that when you go through the book, we understand for Lean In, we keep on at times blaming circumstances. We keep on at times blaming the surroundings and the people. Oh, they didn't let us do this, or we could not achieve doing this. What we don't see is what is the effort that we put in. Did we really voice our opinion? Did we really not hold back? Did we really use our communication skills to get the message across in a manner that is not offensive, but yet assertive? I think as women, we at times lack that also. We step back and we become defensive, and then it just becomes very easy to also blame the environment. Oh, the environment is not conducive. I always say, yes, the environment can be difficult, but use it to your advantage. At least speak out. At least say what you have to say.
Can you share a story about that? That's clearly a lean in moment where you were leaning into your career by speaking out and not being a victim to an environment
Hmm.
or any challenges in the settings of which you were. Can you share a
Hmm.
story on that?
Oh wow. Okay. Let's see. And but not naming any organizations, please. Okay, I could get into a lot of trouble.
It's okay.
Yeah, I could give you an example of something that may not occur many a times with with staff, but yes, it can occur with people who are in authority positions, especially women. So, I was working at one of the places that I worked in, and I worked in multiple offices and organizations, and there were some budget issues that I had repeatedly seen coming up, from the admin side, and um, there were some supply issues that were coming up, and I had kind of, because I was one of the budget owners, I had seen things appearing and not being discussed. So I kind of tried to take it up. And I said, well, there are people being affected. This money needs to go for the right kind of deliverables. This money is not being budgeted rightly. Some money is absent. There is no accountability of where something is going. Can I please get an explanation? And I remember there was this I cannot forget the look on the face of that admin person. There was this unbelievable look of, how dare you? How dare you? You girl, you young girl. I'm a 50-year-old admin person. I've been in this organization for so long. How dare you question me? And it became a really big thing, but I realized that for so many people to become so upset, I must have really touched a chord. I must have really stepped onto something important. And I kind of held my ground. I tried seeking support, and I did not get any support. I tried seeking support from my female colleagues, from my supervisors, and I realized, oh my God, I've probably opened a Pandora's box, and nobody wants to be a part of this. But I remember again, my father, I remember my husband becoming really, really worried for me. And he went like, Mariam, you don't want to, he came from a position of care. And he said, you know what, Mariam, in Pakistan, you don't want people being your enemies. You as a woman, just stop beating the bee's hornet, kind of like that. Um and I said, but I'm right. I've picked on something and I'm right, and this is wrong. What is happening is absolutely wrong. And I remember my father calling me, and my father said, Mariam, are you 100% sure that some wrongdoing is happening? And I said, Abu, I know the wrongdoing is happening. It's not my money. It's not their money. This is people's money. Do not mess with it. And I remember saying, you know what? Even if they fire you, do not step back. Just don't step back. And that's what I did. I kind of fought through, and to your amazement, and to my amazement, Tara, when this thing went up and it went to the higher authorities, it was taken so seriously. It was it was dealt with. It was taken care of. But eventually, after 6 months, I ran, and it was cleared, and everything was done, and people were getting their money, and the program benefited from it. There were lots of thank you notes and everything. But after 6 months, I received a letter of regret that we cannot, we will not be um, extending your contract anymore with the firm, and they will subject to leave. So
Well, well, that's definitely a story, Mariam, and we applaud your courage. We applaud your surroundings that encourage it, particularly your supportive husband and the care he showed towards you, but your bravery and courage. And that is such a lean in story you've shared, and probably the perfect moment for which us we could end this interview. So thank
thank
you
you so
so much
much.
for your time and being such a flourishing part of Lean In Lahore.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I could not be more proud to be a part of the Lean In community, to be a part of such amazing, dynamic women who are shaping the future of Pakistan. And I think the Lean In women are going to be the front runners for it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.